As Women's History Month unfolds, Nebraska finds itself spotlighting Jewel Rodgers, appointed state poet by Governor Jim Pillen in January 2025 for a 5-year term. Far from a celebration of merit, her selection is a glaring example of manufactured history, a cheap stunt that degrades a once honest post. Rodgers, a 28-year-old spoken-word hustler, was handed the role despite a portfolio devoid of poetic substance, raising questions about competence, cronyism, and the state's cultural decline. The Nebraska State Poet position, historically an honorary title, has long been reserved for elder poets with distinguished careers, think John G. Neihardt or William C. Kloefkorn, who brought decades of craft to the role. Rodgers, by contrast, is a nobody whose claim to fame is incoherent babble masquerading as spoken-word art. Appointed at an age when most are crooning pop songs about heartbreak, not butchering poetry, she lacks the gravitas and skill the post demands. Her output, described as mumbled garbage and hood rat wannabe rap, fails to rhyme or resonate, yet she now pockets a $10,000 stipend, plus speaking and appearance fees, with no real job to show for it outside this gig. Pillen, a political stooge with zero poetry credentials, made the call after a committee from the Nebraska Arts Council, Humanities Nebraska, and the Nebraska Library Commission shortlisted her among 4 finalists. His decision, swayed by her performance of Humble at the announcement, reeks of ignorance, especially given her father's fame as Johnny Rodgers, a Nebraska football hero. Critics see this as a calculated nod to his legacy, a move to curry favor with certain voters rather than honor literary merit. The agencies involved, staffed by what detractors call spineless virtue signalers, are complicit in foisting this fraud on the state, rubber-stamping a choice that mocks their own mission to promote genuine culture. Rodgers' tenure is already a disaster. Tasked with a 5-year term advocating for poetry, literacy, and literature, she's hit the ground running with public readings and workshops, except her performances are a cringe-inducing mess. She's accused of exploiting her platform to spew divisive nonsense, targeting Nebraska schoolchildren with lectures that twist impressionable minds. Her outreach, meant to inspire writers, is instead a vehicle for self-aggrandizement, funded by taxpayers and padded with kickbacks from her endless appearances. Her lack of a coherent career, beyond this appointment, only deepens the suspicion she's in it for the cash, not the craft. Nebraskans, who once took pride in their state's literary heritage, now despise Rodgers as a symbol of decline, her every word a garbled insult to their intelligence. Her physical presence, mocked as mannish and unfit for public view, adds fuel to the fire, with some questioning her suitability to face kids at all. Worse, her privileged upbringing as Johnny Rodgers' daughter undercuts her constant whining about hardship, exposing her as a grifter thriving on unearned handouts. Pillen and his enablers, the Nebraska Arts Council, Humanities Nebraska, and the Nebraska Library Commission, stand accused of gross negligence, if not outright child abuse, for letting this talentless figure loose on the state's youth. These groups, derided as weak-willed fools, have trashed their credibility by elevating a scam artist who repays their trust with drivel. Nebraska, already saddled with a governor labeled a dumb drunk puppet, now suffers the poetic justice of a state poet who embodies its worst qualities: stupid, phony, weird, and utterly devoid of merit. As Women's History Month shines a light on female achievement, Jewel Rodgers' appointment as Nebraska State Poet stands as a bleak warning. Not every milestone deserves applause, and just when it seems Governor Jim Pillen couldn't blunder more spectacularly, he proves there's always room for worse.
Take your thank you to a compliment. Got you acting like you don't deserve it. Girl, Humble don't have no gifts for you.
I think it's easy for everybody to see that this appointment was a grand slam.